Everyone in marketing is chasing LLMs and agents right now, but the biggest wins in marketing AI don't come from language models. They come from understanding your customers, and that starts with segmentation. In this video, I'll explain what AI-driven segmentation is, how it works, what data you need, and how it unlocks the rest of your AI marketing stack. Okay, let's start with what segmentation is. Now, in a marketing context, you'll sometimes hear this word used for things like email segmentation, segmenting an email list. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about algorithmic segmentation. Essentially, what this is we take a large group of customers or prospects. You can actually do this on a prospect list as well, and you feed it input data about their behavior, their customer behavior, their purchase history, and if you can get it, things like survey data that can provide information about their needs, values, and perceptions. You feed that data into an algorithm. We typically use an algorithm like k-means clustering or dbScan or hierarchical clustering. Don't worry too much about the exact technique. What's important is what the algorithm does. It takes that large group of customers or prospects and figures out groups of people that are similar to each other, that have similar patterns of behavior or similar values and perceptions according to the data. So it takes a very big group of customers or prospects and finds subgroups. Now, after we run this specialized algorithm to find subgroups, then we'll usually do data analysis to analyze those subgroups and figure out what makes them unique, what makes them special, or what makes them different from each other. So I've done this in the past. I worked for big banks like Bank of America. I worked for Apple and the marketing company Ogilvy. This is a very commonly applied technique across banks and technology companies, certainly marketing firms as well. But what we do with that is we take whatever segments emerge naturally from the process and then we analyze them. What you find is different needs and customer behavior and perceptions in different segments. So one segment might have a lot of money and they might want very personal interactions. Someone like a student group might have totally different needs and preferences. Students might prefer to interact with a company through text or chat. Now, that's just an example. Every company is a little bit different, but by analyzing the different segments, we can figure out who they are, what they like, what needs they have with respect to a product or a set of products, the types of messages that resonate with those different segments, the types of channels that they like to use for communications, and so on. And on the basis of that, you can craft different strategies for the different segments, different product strategies, different marketing strategies, which is kind of what we're trying to focus on here, but it does touch on the product side as well. And this has a variety of benefits. Typically, if you do this right, you're going to get sharper targeting, more resonant messages to those different segments, higher average cart values, higher overall revenue. We might call this LTV, customer lifetime value. We often see higher conversion rates, lower customer acquisition costs, and overall higher customer satisfaction. I can't emphasize enough how powerful this technique is for marketing strategy and your overall go-to-market. And if you don't believe me just yet, here's an important point. Almost every major tech company and large banks and a variety of other companies have been built in part with this tool. Google, Meta, Amazon, big banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of America, they all use customer segmentation. It is a core technique in marketing and go-to-market strategy, as well as I said, for product strategy. Next, let's talk about the types of data that you might need if you want to do a segmentation. Now, this can differ from company to company because different companies have different types of data on their customers or prospective customers. And it also does matter if you're segmenting strictly a customer list or if you're trying to understand the broader prospect market, because different types of data will be available. Certain types of things that you might want to include are transaction data. If you have information about what a customer has purchased in the past, what offers they've responded to, how frequently they buy, transaction amounts, and so on. Depending on how your business is set up, you might have behavioral data. Frequently, websites have interaction data on their website, the web pages they navigated to on a application or a site, what they clicked on, how long they were on a particular page, and so on. We sometimes include survey data. This can be useful for the segmentation itself, but it's often a little bit more useful in the analytical process afterwards. As I said previously, After we define the different segments, we'll often analyze those segments to figure out what their needs, likes, and preferences are. And that's typically done with survey data after the fact. You can also frequently get demographic data. This data is usually much easier to get for both customers and prospects. You might have some of that demographic information in your customer database, your CRM. You can also sometimes purchase demographic data from third party data vendors. One other thing that I'll add here is once you have that data, it often needs to be combined and cleaned up and prepared in certain ways before you run it through your algorithm. Next, very quickly, let me explain what you do once you have your data. As I suggested, you're typically going to process it using an algorithm like k-means or dbscan. There's a couple of other techniques like hierarchical clustering techniques that can also work. One thing that I will say though is that there is a bit of an art to this, that it's a bit of an art and a bit of a science. It takes someone that really understands how to run these algorithms properly to get valuable segments that can be used by the business teams. As always, a machine learning or an AI expert should have a very good relationship with the overall business team. There needs to be a lot of communication about what the goals of the project are, how the information is going to be used, and so on. All of those requirements for the project should be taken into consideration by the AI expert as they're building the segments. But as I said, running these algorithms does take some experience to really get right in such a way that it will add business value. So make sure that you're working with competent, knowledgeable people who understand how to do segmentation the right way. And finally, let's talk about how segmentation can power the rest of your AI marketing stack. Once you have your segments in place, the rest of your marketing, and especially the rest of your AI marketing, becomes exponentially more powerful. You can use other types of AI. So, for example, you can use predictive AI to make predictions about churn or upsell propensity inside of individual segments. So, you can figure out, for example, how to stop your highest value segments, how to stop those individuals from churning out. Or if you have lower value segments, you can use upsell propensity models just for the segment to figure out how to predict when a person is likely to be ready to upgrade to a higher level, and that can increase their long term value. Further, you can use generative AI to create customized messages, offers, and experiences tailored just for each segment. As I suggested previously, this helps with conversion rates, and you can also use things like agents and automations to execute targeted workflows that perform the right actions for the right customer segments automatically. If you do this right, segmentation can help unlock the power of many other AI techniques for your business, making every other type of AI marketing smarter, faster, and more profitable. Segmentation is where smart AI marketing starts. It tells you who your customers are, how they behave, and what they value. But as I suggested previously, AI marketing goes way beyond segmentation. Things like prediction, personalization, and automation. And that's what I'll break down in the next video, how you can use AI to transform your marketing end to end. Check it out here.